You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we're going to talk about the very strange situation involving the tragic deaths of the three individuals that simply went to their friend's house for a Kansas City Chiefs watch party. We've all gotten together for NFL watch parties at friends' houses. Very normal, very common during football season, and it's also common during wrestling pay-per-views and UFC pay-per-views. You get together, have a few brews, and watch the game or event. Well, these three gentlemen lost their lives. They never made it back home. And there's a lot of mystery around what is going on involving this. And we've got two things on this case. Number one, Fox News had a forensic pathologist on, and he is claiming that the police have to already know what happened here, that they've got to already know the cause of death. Now, the girlfriend of David Harrington, one of the victims, and I'm using the term victim. I don't know if you want to use the term victim or not, but she just come out and said she believed he was murdered. I don't think this forensic pathologist buys that, but he does have a number one, it's pretty interesting that he just comes out and says the police already have a cause of death here, okay? But then there's another thing, and we've brought up the word fentanyl, and I think we might be headed down that path or something like that, K2, some kind of situation involving something like that. Now, Jordan Willis, we have found out now, is an HIV and COVID scientist. I mean, this guy's very smart and probably made good money. So I don't know what the motive would be. Again, he had already purchased tickets for him and his friends to go to another Chiefs game. Now, if you're wanting to do something sinister, that's a great alibi. Make it look like, hey, look, I was taking them to a game. But we don't know that anything sinister happened here either. So let's go over to Fox News. Forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden delivered his assessment Monday on the deaths of three Kansas City Chiefs fans discovered in their friend Jordan Willis's frigid backyard. Quote, "It may be that all four of them took something that made them pass out. Willis, passed out indoors and slept it off. They passed out in the cold weather and snow, and within an hour, the body temperature would go down from 98 degrees to 80 degrees, and the heart rhythm goes awry." Now, this is interesting. He tells you what would have killed him if that happened. And the person dies of cardiac arrest because of hypothermia. Interesting. So, he told Steve Ducey that the toxicology test results will provide more information on whether drugs were consumed and at what level. This may have just been a recreational level and they didn't die from a drug overdose. However, Baden said most simultaneous deaths are caused by carbon monoxide poisoning, but only indoors. The outdoor deaths, he continues, point to drugs having been the likeliest cause. Quote, "They may not have known what was in the material they were taking, and they got confused. They passed out. One passes out indoors and sleeps it off. All the others are outside and die of the cold." Quote, "I'm sure the police already know. They were at the scene. They got the information from the scene. What was used? I'm sure this Willis person is talking and cooperating with them and telling him what he knows. The police are looking for whoever supplied the drug. And when they find out, they'll release the information. They know the cause of death. They know what the toxicology is by now." So he's saying that the police already have an idea of what's going on. He said they actually just know. That's interesting. Meanwhile, a source close to Jordan's family It goes on to talk about what I did a video on the other day. Depressed, devastated by loss. They were all friends. The three friends were discovered outside of Willis's home after a January 7th watch party. Experts had previously told Fox News Digital that a fentanyl-laced drug, or K2, a drug commonly mistaken for marijuana, could have been the culprit. That's interesting. That is very interesting. And we've heard a lot about both substances. Both substances, of course, have been in the news a lot. So, Ricky Johnson's brother was on with Chris Cuomo, and he is demanding some answers. This guy wants some answers. Understandable. It's family. You want to know what happened to your brother. The entire family wants to know. So the brother of one of the three Kansas City Chiefs fans found in the friend's backyard has demanded investigators tell the grieving families how they died. So if they did die of, they took something, blah, 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 they were outside, and they freeze to death, they would have died of cardiac arrest caused by hypothermia, right? The drug caused them to pass out. So are they not telling them anything like that? Hey, if they were outside, they got hypothermia, which led to cardiac arrest. That's interesting. David Harrington, 37, Ricky Johnson, 38, and Clayton McGinney, 36, were found dead in Jordan Willis's backyard in Kansas City, Missouri, nearly 3 weeks ago. The police have still not made any arrests, and medical examiners have yet to reveal the cause of death, with toxicology reports expected to take up to 5 more weeks. What? But Johnson's brother, Jonathan Price, said he is making discoveries on his own, including the fact that one of the men was found on the back porch away from the others. The Kansas City Police Department said there is no evidence of foul play, but Price has demanded they explain what they think happened. Quote, I'm not saying there was or was not a crime, but if you immediately suspect no foul play, then you should have a story. You should have something to tell the families, and for no one to hear anything that doesn't make any sense, he told Cuomo. Wow, that's crazy. It's the same every day with the lack of answers and inability to truly mourn without any cause. I want to be more involved. My mother, Ricky's father, want to be more involved, and we're not getting any answers from the investigation. Willis, 38, is a HIV researcher and protein scientist who lives and works in a home on Northwest 83rd Terrace, and that's Kansas City, Missouri. He doesn't live there now. He moved out. He is an accomplished scientist who researched into COVID and HIV and has been praised in the medical world. This is just getting wilder by the second. That is nuts. In interviews, he described his 2 pit bull mixes, Sadie and Daisy, as the light of his life. The men didn't return home or contact their families after the Chiefs-Chargers game on January 7th. Willis didn't contact anyone to say where they were or what had happened. For 2 days, the families of the victims say they visited Willis's home, called him, and sent him Facebook messages asking where they were. He did not respond. Eventually, the fiance of one of the men broke into the home through the basement and found the first body in the backyard. She then called police, who arrived to find Willis in his underwear, we didn't know that, holding a wine glass, and found the other 2 bodies in the backyard. Price slammed explanations from Willis and said his story kept changing. I don't care who you are or where you live. If it's snowing outside, you're looking outside to see how bad it's getting. It doesn't matter if you work from home, you've got to leave sometime. And from his lawyer, we don't know if he left or not, because he started out saying he left home sporadically throughout the day, and then another one where he was home for 50 hours. There is Jordan Willis with his dog right there. Wow. All right. That's interesting. This is getting so strange. I do not speculate on what my brother has done in the past. I just know he was a good man. He loved his daughters to death. He absolutely had future plans to be a father to them, and for the rest of their lives, he absolutely wouldn't jeopardize that. And he said he knew that one of the men dead was positioned differently to the others. As brother, I'm looking at everything. David was found in a lawn chair on the back porch rather than all three laying flat, which paints a picture we didn't have from the beginning. Very interesting. So, and he goes on to talk about the comments that Jennifer Marquez made the other day, and said that I want Jordan to come forward and say, you know, this wasn't meant to happen, but this is what happened. I did this, or I saw this. You know, just tell us. She believes Willis is scared, and I think that's why he didn't answer the text messages that people sent, and I think that's why he waited too long to let everybody know what happened with the men. That didn't make sense. I heard from several people that said they kept texting him. You know, they went, knocked on the door, they banged on the door. How could you keep missing texts and people knocking on your door and not notice text or anything like that? Now, that does make things more interesting if people were literally banging on the door and he wasn't responding. Now, the forensic pathologist just said if they all took something and one of them passed out indoors, he was able to sleep it off. They died of the cold. So where did you get it from? What did you have? Did they all just think they were about to smoke a doob and there was going to be nothing to it? We're going to smoke a doob after the game, and then everybody's going home. They're going their separate ways. And, you know, the girlfriend came out and said, well, he wasn't a drug addict or a drug user. I don't think anybody in this day and time believes that somebody that smokes weed is probably a drug addict, you know. I think there was a time, 20 years ago, people might have thought that. But now the perception of that has just changed, right, in society as in general. But we're also hearing a lot of horror stories about that stuff being laced or it being K2 or whatever. I don't blame the family for being angry. I don't. When anybody dies like that, you're furious. And when you don't have any answers, that even makes it worse because you can't have closure to the situation that's actually happening. This is nuts. It really is. But the pathologist is making some sense to me as to what happened. I do find it interesting that he's saying the cops already know and the cops aren't talking. Well, why is that? Why are you leaving the family in limbo? I don't know. Clearly, the family is getting to the media on this. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.